Hello and welcome to today's video. The topic, Shuriken. Now, this is a kind of condensed version of all my knowledge into the subject, which I figured, well, might as well make a video on it. Yes, it is gonna be one of those philosophical videos, then more like talking, not much throwing. Now, basically, what is a bow shuriken? A bow shuriken is something like this, a straight piece of something with a point on it, okay? But I'm gonna come back to this in a minute. But first, let's have a quick look at the use of this particular weapon. Or, well, not just this, but shurikens. If you were a kid in the 80s like me, you were glued to the big screen and watching the bad ninja versus good ninja, and they were throwing these mystical weapons. They were shurikens with the multiple points, so throwing stars, but they were throwing these with great accuracy and precision, and there was a one throw, one bad guy dropped down. It was that type of thing. Now, I don't believe that is how it was. I mean, besides that, those are movies, but in reality, I think that these were a weapon of distraction, creating a distraction, making your opponent flinch. Kind of in a dirty fighting way, when you're throwing a fistful of sand in your opponent's eyes, making them flinch so either you can retreat or you can advance. Now, everything in this video is kind of based on this assumption, or every assumption in this video based on this opinion, whichever way you look at it, doesn't matter. Now, also this video is going to be broken up into two parts: history, and then the second part is modern day use. So, as I said, throwaway weapon. So with that, the material would be a second or third grade steel. It wouldn't be the weapon that you pass down from generation to generation as a family heirloom, because at the end of the day it is a throwaway weapon, pun intended. So you thrown it and you're not gonna go look for it. You're lost in the mud. That's it. Now, shapes. I have seen pictures and drawings of all sorts of shapes: squares, round, flats, pointed at one end, pointed at two ends, like everything you can imagine. It was basically drawn, and this kind of fits in with what I know about today's knife throwing, because everybody has their own preferences. So if everybody has their own preferences now, back then even more so, because at the end of the day, your first line of defense was, or could have depended on one of these. So with that, effective range. Now, this is an interesting question of, again, building on assumptions. So beyond 5 meters, and we're talking about drawing a sword and having a bit of a sword fight or cutting people up. Beyond 5 meters, you see the person coming, so you can actually meet his force with your own particular force, right? If he's charging at you from about 5 meters, by the time you pull a weapon, he's gonna be about 2 or 3 meters. Like he took at least 2 or 3 steps. Yeah. Now, on the other side, if you're standing toe to toe a person, or even a meter away, if he's starting to draw his sword, you can actually close the distance, smother the sword drawing. So that's too close. Beyond 5 meters, too far. So, as a kind of assumption, this weapon would be used between that 2.5 to 4.5, 5 meter mark, which actually fits in quite well on the idea of this is a distraction weapon. This is a first to be deployed. Not to cause major damage, but to give you time to prepare, pull the main weapon. Okay, so if that's the effective range, then the size. So moving on to the size of the bow shuriken. So I have some of these huge spikes. These are about 260 grams. Okay, so 4 of these will make up 1 kg of metal, which is 2.2 pound for those in the imperial system. So that's fair bit to be hidden on your body accessibly. So if we're making into a 100 gram, this is actually 90, but doesn't matter. Like, we make it into a 100-gram spike, you get 10 of those for the same weight. And if we make it into even lighter, like a 60, 70 gram spike, you get even more, 12 to 15 spikes for 1 kg of steel to be carried around. Now, so therefore it actually makes sense to make them lighter, which also means more spikes, more places it can be hidden. So for example, if you have 15 of these carried, or 12, that means 4 or 5 sets of 3 can be on either arm or either legs. There's more places can be hidden, so at every situation they are available for the fast deployment. That's then that was I made as an assumption at the beginning of the video. So it makes sense to make it smaller and lighter. Now also, I'm just a backyard hobbyist. I can throw this nose pin from 3 meter, no problem. Okay, 4 meter, problem. But for somebody who trained a lot and whose first line of defense kind of depending on one of these or more of these, is gonna be better than me. So it's completely feasible to have that kind of range with that size. Okay, now as the length, somebody once told me that the length should always be not more than the palm to finger, because when they've been held like so, they are hidden in the palm, which makes sense of the hidden weapon. It makes sense of the what I see in the traditional throwing method, and it makes sense for the size. So it's about 6 to 7 inches. Makes perfect sense. Shorter, or not short, but 6-7 inches, around 70 gram or less. Perfect. Now, if we fast forward into modern times, I think the bow shuriken is having a bit of a renaissance. Well, with knife throwing in general. It kind of moved from the self-defense or first line of personal defense into the hobby, the competition, and the art form itself. So first of all, if it kind of made this transition, we want the bow shurikens out of a better material, even the homemade ones. I have made some earlier in my throwing path, made some out of big nails. Now they constantly need tip maintenance, and they're constantly bending, so you're constantly straightening them, fixing them. I throw into a wooden target, so that's hard on them. But since I started making them out of something more durable, like this one, or this is a medium size one, okay, these tips don't have to maintain, so I can spend more time on throwing and not maintaining, because I'm not going to throw them in a situation when I'm going to lose them, or might lose them around the garage, but not in that sense. And I think this will happen because the custom ones are even nicer than mine, because we don't lose them, we throw them at the target, retrieve them. So that's about material. Now I'm gonna come back to the size in a minute, but first about the three places I see it in modern day. Okay, so first the art form, which are schools built around teaching throwing shuriken, either the star, the multiple points, and bow shurikens, which I kind of enjoy in the sense that they making kind of ceremonies around it, making it and kind of that way preserving it for the future generations. I think with that, it did lost a little bit of the competitive side of it, because when you're very ceremonial, you're losing that kind of sudden happening, the kind of fighting side of it. But it becomes really nice to watch, just like Japanese archery, when every movement has its place, every the draw, the putting the arrow onto the string, everything has a beautiful movement, no wasted movement, and that's what I see in the Shuriken Jiu-Jitsu schools. Maybe I'm wrong, and if I am, I'm happy to somebody correct me, you know. But I think turning into an art, it actually ensures the preservation of it. Second, sport or competition. So there are specific bow shuriken competition, some on the internet that was small, but they are around, and some knife throwing organizations also allowing bow shurikens to be thrown. Now, here comes the fun part of the bow shuriken, and because nobody can agree exactly what size it should be, so you have to look it up. The different rules I have seen, okay, one set of rules was the bow shuriken could not be more than 8 inches long, which is just over 200 millimeters, and couldn't be more than 100 gram heavier. Okay. Another competition write-up was again 100 grams the weight, but it could be 250. Sorry, this is this size. It could be up to 250 gram. Sorry, 250 millimeter as a length, maximum 100 gram as a weight, but it also give it as a cross-sectional area of 10 millimeters in diameter. 10 millimeters in diameter. Now, the third one give it as a 250 millimeter length and a maximum 250 and a maximum of 150 grams. So they are far and wide. If you're entering some knife throwing organization, as I said, they allow bow shuriken in they to be thrown as a no spin implement, but they wanted a minimum of 10 inches, which is 254 millimeter long, and the minimum of 5 ounces as a weight. So that's about 140 gram around. You have to do the proper conversion, but give or take. So it's interesting to see how shuriken organizations, they give the maximum values, knife throwing, they give the minimum values, but it is what it is. So if you want to throw them in that environment, check out the rules, check out the distances, and train for that. Now, the third kind of coming back type or today's use is backyard hobbyist like myself. And then what you see is the widest range of shurikens being, or sorry, bow shurikens being thrown, because people are actually throwing sewing needles, which is like 40 millimeter long and 4 grams, um, or up to things like this monstrosity, which is 260 millimeter long and but 260 something grams. Okay, so I mean this makes a big hole in the wooden target, right? So the range is far and wide. Now, which is good because we could experiment with other bits. There is no limit on what you can play with. The question kind of crops up every so often: should a knife thrower or somebody who's even new to knife throwing start playing with it? And I always say yes, you should. Find a kind of a heavier, so around at least 100-gram weight set, and something at least 180 millimeter or somewhere around that length, and throw them, because it, especially if you're throwing them with the same grip as you're throwing your throwing knife, it makes your technique better because they're lighter. Okay, and therefore they need way better control, yet they are faster, so they're good fun to play with. Now, I think I said everything I kind of wanted to say today. Hope you find some information useful in here, and some maybe just my mumbling. Yeah, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.